and welcome to Worst Quality Crab, a podcast of Asian American stories and recipes from best quality hearts. I'm your host, Freesia Lee. Joining me as always is my husband and producer, Sam.
Hello.
Hi, Freesia. Hi, Sam.
Yeah.
Samson.
Oh my God, there she is already. I haven't even introduced her. But this episode, we are so beyond excited.
Quality, yeah.
Oh my God, know your best quality. Listen, I had a whole intro written out. I'm going to skip it. We're talking to Tamlyn Tomita. That's all you need to know.
No.
Actress, fierce AAPI advocate, legend, icon, Waverly in person.
But just so thrilled to be a guest on Freesia's and Sam's podcast, Worst Quality Crab, because when I had the pleasure of meeting them at an Asian American woman's empowerment conference in San Francisco in March, she ran up to me and she said, "Oh my God," and I go, "Oh my God." Because I'm always, still nervous to meet anybody who's a fan of our movie called The Joy Luck Club. But when she told me it's called freaking, I'm not going to swear during our podcast.
You can if you want.
Freaking Worst Quality Crab. I go, "That's me." And she said, that is so true. It is like, and it was like just so fun. And you asked me to be a part of this. And I'm just so thrilled to share your stickers with so many people.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And it's a joy to, be in circle with you, be in community with you.
We're so honored that it's a joy for you to be here with us. I don't even know where to begin, but yes, let's talk about the stickers real fast, because I did come up to you and I just shoved them at you and I said,
and I go,
"Here, this is a crab and her name is Waverly."
Waverly,
Truly,
right?
Before we met you, we started this show, and I was like, our little crabby has to be named Waverly. There's no other name for our mascot.
Yeah.
Because truly an icon. And listen, we'll talk about food and we'll talk about many things, but we did rewatch the Joy Luck Club in preparation for this.
Well, because it is a NHPI Heritage Month.
Yes.
Thank you, Sandra.
Also that.
So I just wore that just for you all.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, thank you for watching again. Oh my God.
It was such a different experience to watch it now versus probably when I watched it 10 years ago versus when I watched it as a child in a movie theater with my mom and my white auntie and white cousin, which is a whole experience.
Oh, I'm very interested in hearing that. Yeah.
12-year-old me, got a lot of things, didn't get a lot of other things, and was sort of confused. I tell this kind of willingly to everyone, but I was very confused by the Russell Wong character because he is outright a bad guy. Not watching now and as an adult, I was like, oh my God, terrible. But 12-year-old me was like, he's so handsome.
I know, how
can handsome people be so bad? I couldn't make it happen.
So bad.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That was real hard for 12-year-old me to wrap my head around. And then as I got older and I watched it again, I was like, oh no, yes. Sometimes they're the worst.
Right? It's just, the phrase loss of innocence. And it's just part of growing up, and, just truth is revealed. And sometimes it's pretty, not so pretty, but then, and you don't judge a book by its cover, blah, blah, blah. All the adages come true or are proven false. So I'm just so glad that you shared that, seeing it 3 times, you have a completely different appreciation for different facets of the stories.
Yeah. I've seen it way more than 3 times.
Yeah, and I think it happens with a bunch of people. So
I will say, I think this was the first time I watched it as a mom, and that was a very different experience.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we have 3 kids, 3 daughters. So.
And how old are they?
10, 7, and 2.
Has the 10-year-old seen it yet?
No.
Are you going to wait for her to be 12?
I'm probably going to wait for her to be 15.
Okay.
Just because I don't want her to go through that whole Russell Wong thing that I did.
Wow.
But yeah, it's very different to watch it, as a mom and sort of be able to empathize with even more of the characters and sort of see it from both all of the daughters' perspectives and understand that, be able to think about it from all of the mothers' perspectives.
Right.
And then even more so to think about it from the mothers' perspectives as daughters and their mothers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that was something that I had a much harder time with when I was younger. Yeah.
Yeah. It just, I think it blows your mind. And I think the power of the structure of the film that comes directly from the book. And just a reminder, Amy Tan wrote her book, her first book, and then co-wrote the screenplay. It's about the ability to step in another's shoes. And not only when we become the appropriate age or when there's a life event that happens, like you, Freesia, becoming a mom, it's just the imagining is done for you. Because I'm not a mother, I chose not to be a mother, but having a mom who's from Asia as well, it's just that, no matter how many stories that she's told me over the course of her life, just to be able to see another woman's story on film, there's just something much more impactful. And I think that's the pride that I derive from being such a worst quality crab character. It's like there is that kind of understanding why, she's such a bitch. She's not mean. She's mean and spirited because she's driven, because that's how she was raised. Those of us who have read the book, we know how Lindo treated Waverly a little bit more deeply, but I think the film is that entree to reading a little bit more deeply into the stories of all the sisters and the mothers in Joy Luck Club. But, again, what you just said, the different appreciation and just the mind-blowing realization that, oh, wow, that's what I'm feeling now, because I'm a mother now. But now it's a little deeper understanding, because you are in life a mother, which I will never get. And also for men as well. It's like they get to understand their mothers. They understand the perspective of a child, not necessarily having to be a daughter, but it's the child, and viewing your mom as, the giver of your life, the goddess of your life, of your world, and growing, in and out of that, and how we continue evolve into the human beings we are at this particular moment. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course. Some follow-up questions since you touched on it.
Yeah.
I mean, one, I want to talk about Waverly being a bitch, and like, how did you feel about that as you were playing the role?
Yeah.
Did you love it? Were you?
Oh my God! Backtrack my career. I started out with Karate Kid Part 2. If nobody did know that, yes, it's 40 years old. Yeah. Again, oh my God.
Oh no, I remember when I met you, there were little kids in front of me who had come up to you with flowers, and they were like, Kumiko, Kumiko, and they were just such huge fans, and they were 5 years old. It was amazing.
They're so sweet. They're so sweet. Yeah, again, that's a whole other conversation. But just to back it up, being, America's sweetheart in 1985, 86, and then my next role, because I didn't want to become an actor. I wanted to become a history teacher. But because of the success and the attention, I go, this might be a way of history, because being an actor, what it really is not just, inhabiting the story you're tasked to tell. You got to develop the history of that character until this moment when you begin the film. That's my jam. That's my joy, is to figure out a history, imagine a history, and say, where did she come from? What was her childhood like? How did she wake up this morning before she met Daniel-san and Mr. Miyagi? That kind of thing. So, and then the next thing that I did in my career was a television show. This was set during the Vietnam War, and I can't remember what the title of it was. You can IMDb it. But I was a young girl who happened to be defending her Vietnam village against the American soldiers or whatever. I think if I remember, she was a communist sympathizer or something like that. So I played a bad guy. The bad guy was much funner than playing the good girl.
Oh.
So when fast forward to Joy Luck Club and reading the book Waverly, I was asked to audition for June. And I go, that would be great. That would be great. But this is 93. As a society, we were already entering the discussion about ethnic specificity. I'm not Chinese American. I'm Japanese, Filipino, Okinawan. Right. And then so I told them that, and they said, great, thank you for honoring that, blah, blah, blah. And then they called me in for Waverly, and I go, ooh. And it was so fun. And in the scenes where Waverly interacts with June at the worst quality crab table, That's where, Wayne Wong was just really very instrumental in carving out those performances because he didn't want her to be an outright bitch. He wanted her to just present herself with the self-assurance that I know what the fuck I'm talking about. You are you are so less than, and you just don't know it, poor thing. And do it with that kind of patronizing attitude. So remembering that scene, remembering how incredible an actor Ming-Na Wen is. If you compare us in real life, I think she's much more self-assured than I am. I think so. It's just that it required us to play these characters and inhabit them as fully. And, and just to say these mean words to her, across the table, take after take, reverse the camera, and then it's on her reactions it's, that's the magic of cinema. And to play Waverly at that point was deliciously mean and veiled in niceties. So, how much more complex can one be?
Yeah.
Fun.
Oh God, I love it. Yeah. Did you know at the time it was going to be as big as it is?
No, because again, history. This is 93. We were coming off of this huge controversy that went on Broadway in 1991 called Miss Saigon. Cameron McIntosh's play about a half Asian, half white pimp, trying to pimp off, sweet Lea Salonga, who ultimately got the Tony Award for her performance as Kim, played by Jonathan Pryce, in yellow face with the tape and out everything. And we had come into that discussion about Asian American representation in vehicles on stage and film and TV. And when Joylette came out, we were just, oh my God, this book is so great. And we all individually ran out and got to read it. And then when we made the film, of course we were, we're just so invested in. And me, I was like, yeah, but we're in a battle right now. Asian American representation is just catching fire. But I'm pretty sure that I did say that I think Joylette Club will be a blip in terms of Asian American storytelling, but it will be a big blip. But we have a long way to go. Because, just having the privilege of studying Asian American studies at UCLA and knowing how this battle for Asian American stories and representation by Asian American actors is really from 1940s and 1950s. So talking about a film in 1993 is like, it takes time. And here we are, and it's such a joy to hear, praise the rich Asians, and the first Asian American film was Joylette Club, and I go, no. Learn our histories, and it's not just incumbent upon us Asian Americans, but it's incumbent on all Americans who want to know the extremely layered, extremely complex, and extremely beautiful histories of all our stories.
I mean, I will say when I saw the Joylette Club, that was, I think, for a long time, my representation anchor. When I think about like my first, it was like Claudia Kishi in the Babysitter's Club books. It was the Joylette Club. And then I got Mulan, and I was like, great, I'm set.
Yeah, I'm set.
It felt fulfilled.
Right. But then, the Babysitter's Club, in terms of turning that series of books into film, it's 2020.
Yeah.
Come on now. It's like, yeah, so thank you for your patience. But again, I think that's why I'm always trying to agitate, for more stories. And yes, we're super proud of being Asian American, but I want to see Indigenous women's stories or Indigenous men's stories as well. Just all the plethora of stories out there. So I know that in Alliance, I'm learning these new words too. So it's not enough to become an ally to our other brother and sister groups. It's better to be an accomplice. So it's like the accompliceness, a complicity. I don't know what the word is, but that's what we're all in for. But specifically here on your show, it's like just take these few minutes and say, "Yay, Asian America!"
Yeah, well, when we tell people that we do this podcast, it's sort of like, haha, we have this fun food show. Do you want to come on it? But what we really aim to do is just give platform to the nuance of more stories and the way people grew up, especially. This was sort of born out of, in a lot of ways, me feeling not Asian enough. Like, I'm half white, and so I was always like, I'm on the outside.
No, you're not, baby girl. You're not. I know.
It took me a long time. And then also, Sam, I think in some ways, like, it started as kind of like a what were you eating at home type of thing. And he was eating this dish that his mom made that he thought she was the only one making. And it turns out that a good friend of ours, her dad was making the same thing. But no one had ever talked about it, right? Because no one was talking about their food outside. And those are not conversations people are having. And so using this space to just give people a chance to share the nuances of how they grew up so that other people can say, oh, that was me too. I thought I was alone in that. Or, oh, I didn't eat that, but my experience was similar. I thought I was alone in that. I guess I'm not. All that to come back to you growing up, Okinawan-Filipino mother, Japanese-American father, born on a military base, moved to LA. What was all that like for you? Like pre-Karate Kid, pre-Kumiko, before everyone knew you as the girl next door.
That background, and thank you for doing your research, Freesia.
We tried.
It was normal. I thought everybody had that kind of, I think as children, we just learned by, just bonding and connecting with all the kids on the playground, literally. Before the classroom, you sit in the classroom and you're told to behave. It's like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Listen to the adult who was, again, if we really, really, dig into those layers of, our first classrooms and our first friends and how we interacted in the classroom versus outside in the playground, it's a myriad of stories. But specifically going back to answering your question, I think it was pretty normal for me. And as I grew up, watching Sesame Street, learning English alongside my mother because English was her second language. Long story short, my father is an American of Japanese descent who was sent to Okinawa to serve on his station. And he went into the officers club and he saw this beautiful Okinawan-Filipina singer singing "Oh Danny Boy."
Wow.
Oh Danny Boy, the pipes are calling. That's how my mother learned English, was through singing American songs. My mother has a beautiful voice. My father had a beautiful voice as well. And, ding, 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 ding. Oh my God. He met, courted her, married her, had me, and brought us both to the States when I was 6 months old. So I have no memory of Okinawa. And my mother being Filipina, she also spoke Tagalog, which is, and also a little bit of Spanish because, Spain colonized the Philippines as well, and America colonized the Philippines as well. Colonization, yay!
Yay.
So my mother was learning how to speak English and learning the crazy American life. What does it mean to become an American housewife? Go to the grocery store. She doesn't know how to drive, dependent totally on my father. And she's sending off her 3 kids. I was the eldest of 3. I have 2 younger brothers. And we're all growing up speaking Japanese until we entered the classroom. And it's like English. We spoke English with my father. My mother and father spoke, Japlish, that pidgin, whatever specific to your home. And it was very normal. The advantage I had growing up in feeling safe, in feeling like I belonged, and feeling that I was protected is my father was a Los Angeles police officer. That's a totally other story. My father was the 3rd Asian American to be hired by LAPD. And long story brief, he co-founded what is known as the Asian Task Force, which was the first bilingual unit in the nation comprised of Asian American officers who spoke not only English but the mother tongue in the late 1970s, early 80s because of the new influx of Vietnamese, of Koreans, the new Korean wave of immigration, and as well as the Japanese and Chinese 2nd generation, 3rd generation kids, because we're entering post-civil rights movement, we're entering protests, we're fighting for better rights in terms of redlining, in terms of all the whole political landscape. So my father was here in Los Angeles, really, really being the forefront. So I grew up that protection as a daughter of a cop kind of attitude. Also a daughter of a community member and a daughter of an immigrant mother. So I had all these kinds of, perspectives that I had access and opportunity to view the world with. So that's basically, in a nutshell, how my formative years were. And this is a common story with any ethnic kid who doesn't look typically American with the blonde hair and blue eyes. It's like, an Asian. Do you know Kung Fu? Because Kung Fu, the series came out. Speak Chinese to me or speak Japanese to me. And, I think I remember it. And I think it's funny. It's like, oh, arigato, chazuke, sushi, sashimi, desu ka? You're just making gibberish up because of the Japanese words that I didn't know, because Japanese was falling away from me because I was becoming a typical American kid. And growing up, I was never embarrassed about my mom, lack of English or her limited English. But I knew that I would have to step in as an interpreter or just a literal writer of her checks at the grocery store. And, those are typical stories that, what you and Sam were saying is like, not only food, there's just simple practices that a lot of kids who come out of immigrant households, they tend to pick up those tools or serve as the link between their home and larger American mainstream society.
I want to talk about your mom being half Filipino.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that you were Filipino until this year. And, people think of you as Japanese.
Yeah.
But how do you think of yourself? Like, what part of that sort of carried through your mom into you, if at all? Like, you might be our first mixed Asian guest, which is kind of wild.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I know, we are sorely overdue.
Oh, no.
But I'm curious,
going.
like, what was that like for you, right? Because especially being Kumiko, I think you were so often recognized for being Japanese.
Yeah.
So what's the Filipino part of you, and like, how do you hold that?
Yeah, and then just to add on to that, because there's so many people, they're of your age and in their 20s as well. It's like, oh my God, I never knew you were not Chinese because you were in the Joy Luck Club.
That we knew.
I know, right? But still, just people come and it's like, yeah, it's like, but that's my joy and privilege of being an actor. And trying to do whatever work I could in portraying a Chinese American woman. But there was really nothing necessarily Chinese American for Waverly, so I didn't have that word. But in relating to my mom, to the actress Tsai Chin, that's just a regular mother-daughter. I just used my own, frustrations with my mother speaking that way to me, is that just, I love you. I love, why do I have to say I love you? I love you. I don't have, my mother, that's the same with my mom. Anyway, with being Filipina, and I continue to have these discussions with my mother. Growing up with my mother, she always told me about how she grew up during the war when I had no idea what war is. It's like, she goes, you're lucky you have, milk for your cornflake every morning. I didn't have milk because of the war. And I go, I remember these kinds of discussions when I was 5, 6. It's like, what war are you talking about? The war. And I go, and then it was not until I learned in, the later years of elementary school, learning about our world history. And, it was just uncovering all those stories. And so my mom, being Okinawan-Filipina, she married a Japanese American and moved to the States. Her younger sister, Okinawa-Filipina, married a Filipino American and moved to the United States. So when that family, my auntie and her 6 kids, came down to visit us 3 kids, and those 2 sisters, my mom and my auntie, and they're speaking a whole other language. It's not Japanese. It's Tagalog, Japanese, English. It is whatever. It was like, what the hell are they talking about? And so growing up, I can still continually discovering what are Japanese words and what are Tagalog words and what are words they made up. It was like, so that's a real clue, right? Language. And then trying to tie it into the specificity of your show is like, my mother did not cook Japanese food like other Japanese women did here in Los Angeles. It was Japanese Filipino influenced food. If there is
Sounds
specifically,
delicious.
yes, right?
Sounds great, yeah.
So Filipinos, Pinoy, Pinay, will understand what patis is. Japanese people will not understand what patis is. That is fish sauce.
Mm.
That's like nuoc cham in Vietnamese cuisine or Thai cuisine. And when mother adds that to her food, it raises it to another level. Oh my God. So that's a specific joy. When my mother's, made adobo, of course, when you're little, it's like you think it's, because your mother's, everybody's saying easily, I'm compartmentalizing. My mom's Japanese. No, she's Okinawan first, and then Filipina, second, because she grew up in the Philippines. She didn't grow up in Okinawa during the war.
Mm.
So it's about that kind of mishmash of, and it's not a mishmash where it's all melting, but they're, when you stretch them out, they're super identifiable in terms of flavor profile. When you go, that's not Japanese. Garlic is not present in Japanese cuisine. Garlic is super present in Filipino cuisine. So that's your second entree after language. So, and then the pride of growing up, and my mother, she held a Japanese passport because she never could hold a Filipino passport because of the war, blah, blah, blah. It's a continued discovery of what it means to be part Filipina. And also, with these other discussions with Black communities, are you Black enough relates to are you Filipino enough? Because it's about the skin color issue. It's like, do you know how many Filipinos look like me because of, again, the colonization and immigration to a country, where it welcomed other folks. So that's it's a whole continual discovery about what it means to be Filipino. When I enter the Filipino community, they go, "Are you Filipino?" I go, "Yes." Well, my grandmother was born in Santa Cruz, Ilocosur, and then those few words that I've learned how to pronounce correctly gives me a little entree. But then I go, but then I don't speak a lick of Tagalog. I appreciate it through the Filipino American community. I appreciate it through the Filipino American stories, and I appreciate it more through the people of Filipino descent that I get to meet here and say, "Oh my God, you should come to the Philippines," But in contrasting with the Japanese colonization into the Philippines, blah 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 blah, and that's very personal to me, knowing how my mother's father, he's from Okinawa. He's the one who immigrated to the Philippines before the war, met and married my Lola, my Filipino grandmother, and they had their 4 beautiful daughters, and then war broke out, and all hell broke loose. So that's basically my origins of my mom's side of the family.
When did you first become so aware of this? Because I'd imagine as a kid, you really weren't kind of aware of much of this or sort of the nuances of it. Or were you? I don't know.
I didn't understand the nuances of it. But again, what I was saying, my mother always spoke of war. World War II specifically on her side. It wasn't until we got into elementary school and learning U.S. world history or U.S. history and learning about World War II, Japanese Americans specifically, reading that one paragraph about the internment or the relocation of Japanese Americans. That was a bit of history. And then not later on until junior high school did I become more interested, more curious, more aware, then ask and researching about history, and also going back to not only my mother for her experience, but then also to my dad, because I had no idea, because my dad's being, super handsome, super awesome, Los Angeles police officer. So I had my own life experience growing up as a suburban LA kid, having my father becoming so present in the Asian American Los Angeles community as a police officer, but also the home stories with my mom and going, what does this mean? And this is when I get frustrated and ashamed of myself. It's like always, saying, "Mom, tell your story." And I'm telling you, I told you. And she never could tell me to the degree where she felt comfortable because of her lack of American English skills. I'm sure if I was fluent in Japanese, she would be able to tell me the complexities and the conflicts of having to leave Okinawa to raise her family in the States. She left her mom and her sisters in Okinawa. She chose to fall in love, marry, have me, and immigrate to the United States with my father. Those are discussions I'm still having with her every day. I'll see her at 12:30 today before we go to the dentist together. It's like, these are all kinds of stories, and it's a joy and it's a blessing to still have her. She's 88. She's still in a good mind. She's going to dance obon with me, the Japanese Summer Fest. She still does, it's like I'm lucky. So I got to capture, as much as I can as a responsibility to myself, or to my family, but to the world as well.
Oh man, so many
I
things.
know, so many things, right?
So many things. Actually, it's so interesting, right? Like we talked about the Joy Luck Club and this mother-daughter relationship, and you are not a mother, but you are clearly a daughter, and so now you are in this phase of life. And your mom sounds great, but there is, at some point we reached the phase where we're sort of parenting up.
Yeah.
And so call back to Joy Luck Club and thinking about the daughters seeing their mothers sort of more fully and starting to understand them more. I wonder what it's like for you now at this age to think about your mom. And we've talked a lot about this, right? But like, do you think about like what it was like when she, was your current age and also when she was 30?
Oh. So my mother, she came over to the States when she was 26 with an infant girl, and then quickly became pregnant with my brother, because I think we're only 14 months apart. And then the third child, my second brother, is like another 14 months after. So we're pretty close. So my 30 was totally different from mom's 30. And my mom, she said, when she presented me to her grandmother, her father's mother, she said that I would be a very special child. And my mom always had carried that hope, just like in Joy Luck Club, hope, it wasn't a feather, but it was a kind of a blessing from my great-grandmother to my mother about me. So when I got into Karate Kid and representing the side of her father's line, my grandfather's Okinawan, it didn't surprise her. She said, I knew it. So I'm going, what does this mean? I found that years after Karate Kid. Years after Karate Kid. So it's like, I know it. And so, there's kind of because my mother will probably never tell me, even if I asked her today, like, do you expect me to do anything? She'll zip mouth, because I know she probably has a bunch of hopes for me. And I'm sure I disappointed her, of course, that's just life. And I've had to realize that, but I'm trying to fulfill her, wishes, expectations, hopes, and everything. So, going back to your question about 30, so completely different. So my father passed away at 51. So my mother's been a widow for, since she was 50. So she's entering her 48th year after, not 38th. I'm Asian, I'm not good at math. Her 38th year of being a widow. So when I became her age, is a completely different life. And my husband and I am so blessed to have the best husband in the world, Daniel Matthew Blinkoff. I love you. He and I take care of her. He is right now at the doctor taking care of her. They go together to their acupuncture and kinesiologist appointments. And I think you may know Asian American viewers. It's like, our Asian American parents don't like to go to the doctor. They don't like going to the doctor because there's nothing wrong. But preventative and maintenance work is actually beneficial. And it's taken my Caucasian husband to take her to practice, to pick her up, and they go drive to the doctor together, and he drops her back off. It's taken that kind of commitment from another fellow human being, her son-in-law, to prove that going to the doctor can be a beneficial thing. And she's learned that over the last 5 years. So knowing that.
That's really adorable.
I know, right? Is it so adorable? And then now my mother, ever since my father passed, has become a totally brand new woman. My mother, about 5 years after my father passed, there's this huge magnum of champagne on her living room table. This is a very funny story. She go, "What's that, Mom? Why you champagne? Gina, you don't drink. How come you have champagne?" She go, "Oh, this was a gift." And I go, "From who?" "My driver teacher." And I go, "What?" And she goes, "He thought I would pass." And I go, "Pass what?" "My driving test." "What? What are you talking about? I told you my mother doesn't drive."
Yeah.
"What did you do?" "I didn't pass my driving test. I don't think God means for me to drive." "What are you talking about?" "I took the Sears driving test." "Are you kidding me? We could have taught you. That's why you getting mad like that. You're not patient." And I go, "Oh my God." So, "Okay, Mom, cool down, cool my jets." "What happened?" "I took the driving test, first test." "What do you mean first test?" "First test, no good. Too slow.
Oh.
Second time, it's too fast. Third time, I thought you could make a left turn on the red light. It's the right turn on the red light. How many lessons did you take?" "I don't know. 20. "Mom, how much did a lesson cost?" $100. "Mom." And she still has that bottle of champagne. That was that was in probably around Joylet Club time or after.
Wow.
My papa passed away in '89. So, that's the kind of fortitude she had. So she said, "I don't think God meant for me to drive." She relies on her San Fernando Valley Community Center friends to drive her, to pick her up, to drop her off. And she's had to become more communicative in asking for help. And that is one thing that, not only Asian, American parents or even immigrant parents learn how, but, they learn how to develop that, especially after a need. And just, trying to encourage folks just to, it makes you feel small to ask for help, but actually it makes you big because you actually are connecting with your fellow and sister peoples around you who are always willing to help. And that's just not an American value. That's just a human value.
Your mom sounds so lovely.
Please, I can't wait for you. I'll send you some pictures and stuff like that. But you can look at my Instagram too. Because we're going. My father's birthday falls around Memorial Day weekend, but it's May 30th, so we'll go visit him on Friday.
Oh.
You have told a lot of really wonderful stories that I think really bring a human element to an AAPI community.
Yeah.
And this is AANHPI month. AAPINH. I forget the order.
AANHPI. And
AANHPI.
LGBTQ plus IA. I call it the alphabet soup months. It's like, oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. But we were watching Asian Americans on PBS.
Oh.
So can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think, we haven't finished it all. And in some ways, it's so comprehensive. And also, you could do 20 more episodes and it still wouldn't be enough.
Oh, yeah. So it's a documentary series that was produced by the San Francisco-based Center for Asian American Media, which was put together. I mean, I don't know what the correct word is. Is it directed by, I forgot the third person. But mostly I worked with Renee Tajima Pena and Grace Lee. 5-part docuseries that's airing throughout AANHPI month on PBS and is also available on other platforms, I believe. But it's a comprehensive look at the history of Americans of Asian descent in America. Also touching upon, as best you can in a 5-part, 1-hour series each, about the influence and the impact of Asians in America. Wong Kim Ark, birthright citizenship that we're discussing now in freaking 2025. the first Asian American, a gentleman with the last name of Singh, whether or not he was deemed white or colored, going through Chinese Exclusion Act, Japanese American internment, the new wave of Korean immigrants post, Korean War, the new waves of Vietnamese refugees and other Southeast Asians after the Vietnam or the Vietnam / Southeast Asia / American War. There's three terms that we call, that particular conflict that took place in Southeast Asia. The immigration patterns, cultural patterns, our industry of film, TV, and stage. It's pretty comprehensive, but as we all know, it's a lot more deeper. It's a great entree point into delving into those stories, whatever piques your interest, but also it lays in quite deftly, I think, the interconnectivity between other ethnic American groups who share similar experiences with the specific kind of different seasoning, say African American, Latino American, Indigenous American peoples. And we did it after COVID. So Daniel Day Kim and I had the pleasure of narrating the episodes for those shows, but they're really comprehensive looks from Renee, Grace, and Geeta, our other female South Asian director. And we're very proud. We know that there's discussion about adding to this series. It takes funding, it takes research, and it takes time. So cross our fingers and hopefully we'll see Asian Americans 2.0.
We would love that.
Yeah.
What do you think made you such a fierce ANHPI advocate? Right? You could easily have just kept acting and not been a platform and not been a champion of these causes.
I think it's due to the specificity of my upbringing. My mother always talking about her growing up, what she had, what she didn't have. The protectiveness of my father. But my father was always so amiable and always out there to help because he was a cop and because he spoke, Japanese. There would be a lot of people who would call him in the middle of the night. This is before cell phones. So the landline, Tomita-san, you must this guy, it's like, Dad, somebody's speaking Japanese, and he would go out, in the middle of the night to help somebody in need. And as well as post Karate Kid, being specifically of Okinawan descent, which is the reason why I think I was really cast in this movie. Because they go, oh my God, we got a real Okinawan girl. So we're just making this shit up on, Okinawa and Hawaii. But, she's gonna.
Listen, your grandma called it right. Your great grandma.
Yeah. She caught it. Yeah. And it's about people coming up to me and saying, oh my God, I love you, Kumiko. Arigato gozaimasu. And then during this time, I'm learning what it means to be truly Okinawan. And that kind of education, the continuing education and discovery of what it means to be Okinawan still continues to this day. And that's what I brought, tying it to 2021-22, was the actual Okinawan bits and pieces that I could bring to Cobra Kai.
We wanted to talk about Cobra Kai.
Knowing that Pat Morita could do his best in depicting what it means to be Japanese American because he grew up as a Japanese American in California, in Stockton, he didn't have any Okinawan-ness. Robert Mark Kamen, who is the screenwriter for he is truly trained by Okinawan, but he's a Caucasian American, so he has no idea what the nuance is of what it means to be Okinawan. So when Yuji Okamoto, who plays Chosen in Karate Kid, and I got asked to do Cobra Kai, is like, I only agreed to the three amigos, Josh Heald, John Hurwitz, and Hayden Schlossberg, the writer-creators of Cobra Kai. I can't do this unless I have the permission from you guys to insert Okinawan corrective, language or bits or decor. And he goes, oh, please, 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 please. And that's what I had the permission to do. So the joy and the influence that I have always experienced since the release of Karate Kid 2 meant that I had a duty through all these years with people who are interested in learning about specifically Okinawan as best I could. That's my job in terms of the work that I do in telling stories. That's my initial impulse to become a history teacher, was to tell stories, and if I get the chances to tell the correct stories or the true stories. Because Hollywood is made up literally of made up stories. But if I can insert a little bit of truth in there, that makes it just much more interesting, much more powerful, much more impactful in giving viewers pride, especially if they share that Okinawan heritage or, Guatemalan heritage or Czechoslovakian heritage. If there's a kind of a specificity to that story in terms of heritage, in terms of culture, in terms of language, in terms of food, it becomes a little bit more universal, because you say, oh, that's just like our compliment, complimentary word in food, in language, in cultural practice. So it's not about fierce activism. It's just about trying to find connection. And that's what I think we're all seeking as human beings. And I just have the instrument and I have the influence of being able to tell stories, which is a great, great door, entree point, road to finding connection with other folks.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Listen, that's the perfect place to end, except that we're not going to. Because you did actually bring some food to talk about. And I would like you to, because this is very cute and you're very excited. And also the blurb that you wrote about it, about this is home for a lot of kids. I want you to talk about this.
Yeah.
So Tamlyn, what have you brought us in the food realm?
So I think for a lot of us folks on our algorithms, there's food blogs, there's food experts, we all follow Kenji Lopez Alt on Serious Eats because he's got the scoopage on, all things, that man being a mixed Asian heritage. I go dude, I just love him. And there's no recipe that like, wow, she does it that way. She washes rice that way. Blah, blah, blah. So I felt like I have nothing to share. And, there is a penchant for me to go into the Asian market and buy cup of noodles. And yes, I know it's cup noodles, but we grew up saying cup o noodles. Yes. Okay, come on.
Sure. Same. Yes.
But everybody knows Maruchan and Nissan ramen. The best one is from Chef Morimoto. Chef Morimoto packaged ramen. You can get it on Amazon, but I think the tariffs will probably make it super expensive. But my favorite little things that I wanted to share with you, it's the most comforting thing to me when you come home late or you had dinner and you're still in a hungry hippo mood. And I always have this in my pantry, these 3 items. And if any kid has a bowl of rice, it doesn't have to be Japanese rice. You sprinkle this comes in a 6-pack, these six of ume chazuke. Cha mean tea in Japanese, which also translates to chai in the Indian language. I think cha is in Chinese too. I can't remember if Mandarin or
it is,
Cantonese. Yeah. But you sprinkle this on your bowl of rice. The bowl of rice doesn't need to be hot, but it's delicious hot. And then you pour hot water over it. Hot water or hot tea. Zap the tea, zap the water. I'm going to, be as lazy as possible. This is, so ume is the sour plum. The sour plum. So much akin to the sour plums that we get in Hawaii. The sake things that, there's that.
Moi.
Yeah, moi, yeah. There is chazuke. There's plain chazuke. My favorite is ume, which is the sour pickled plum. There's also sake chazuke, which is dried salmon, which tastes so delicious. And so just sprinkle this on rice, on your bowl of rice. So it's much easier than cup noodle. It's just, you don't have to wait. You just get your bowl of rice, sprinkle this, pour the hot water, boom. It's so easy. And then, so you get these and you put this in your purse or in your pocket if you know you're going to have leftover rice at lunch at work.
Yeah.
Or have this at home too. This is the bottled. So this is wakame, which is seaweed chazuke. So this is super easy to put in. It has the little dried rice balls, the rice crackers. But also this, and I think this is for everybody. If they don't know this, you should know it. This is the entree point for a lot of kids. And for me as a little kid, was sprinkling this on top of my rice, and they go, "What is that black and green stuff? It's so gross." I go, "Taste it."
Yeah.
And this is furikake. Furikake. Aji means delicious. Nori, which is the seaweed. Furikake. You sprinkle this on rice, and you just roll your rice into rice balls, and you roll it around. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Easier than a sandwich. Put this on your popcorn with butter. Oh my God. So these are the easiest things for any specifically Japanese kid or Japanese American or Asian American kid to teach other kids that, yeah, it's black and green, but so what? It's delicious. You eat freaking blueberry, blue colored cereal. What is that? You know, this is deliciousness in a bottle. And so it makes me feel home. It makes me feel proud because, yeah, kids made fun of me, but then once they taste it, they go,
"Oh,
it's delicious."
I'm very impressed that you got kids to try it. I mean, knowing your personality now, I can see how you would do that. But still, you know, because kids aren't always open to trying things.
Yeah.
We actually sometimes will just sprinkle furikake on rice for our kids, and we're like, "That's dinner. If that's the only thing you're going to eat, that's fine."
Yeah.
And they will eat it.
And
they'll eat it, and it's comforting.
And mom and dad, they can do it themselves.
Yes.
That's the other thing, right? It's like, yeah. And then, you know, when they come home from school and they're hungry, they can do it themselves. I think that was, it's also an entree to independence. I can do it myself, mama. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Tamlyn, thank you so much for being here. We cannot believe that we're having this conversation. This is like a fever dream for us. You are so delightful, so generous.
I just love being able to talk about myself because I have voice quality crab, but it's such a joy.
But you are best quality heart.
Oh, thank you. You guys too. We're all just trying to, you know, live in this ocean together and, you know, just walk side by side like crabs do.
Oh, I love that.
It's not walking ahead. It's you know, to do it side
by
side. Together.
I really do appreciate having that opportunity to join with you in this circle. And, you know, initially when we did at that conference up north in San Francisco, and I have to give a shout out to my sister, Mei Lee, Kelly, who and I have our own podcast called Shoes Off Inside. But, you know, to be here with you guys is really special. And whatever I can do to support you, to amplify you, and to shout out, you know, Freesia's and Sam's podcast, Worst Quality Crab, I shall do so. So thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Yeah.
I made it through this whole thing without crying. I might not make it. Tamlyn, anything else you want to plug besides the podcast, which is great? I'm obsessed with the three of you.
Oh my God.
I love hearing you talk.
You know what? It's just so fun. And I think just the more that we add to the fold, you know, the more delicious the mix is. If it's done with good intentions, all those good intentions will come back to you. Goodness just radiates and always circulates back to, you know, the person who was brave enough, you know, to give it out, to release it out to you.
Love that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, where can people find you? We'll just do our little wrap, but where can people find you?
I think the most easiest way is that I'm on Instagram at the Tamlyn Tomita. I'm not very adept at it. I don't check it all the time, but when I do, it's like, oh my God, I got to respond or blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm not very, very good at social media. And it takes so much time. And it takes, you know, it takes a real capacity. And how do I'm only limited, but, you know, so there's a whole other word, but I'm learning. And I think you could catch me on Avatar: The Last Airbender, first season, Blue Eye Samurai, Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. What else is out there? And I just
so much.
I'm just glad that, you know, Joy Luck Club is, you know, being revisited. Cobra Kai is being revisited. But, you know, all good stories, you know, circulate around. So I'm just thankful to be a part of those worlds.
Well, we're grateful that you are too.
Thank you.
I will just say I'm so sorry that we're over, but when you posted about Lisa Liu getting her star, I cried.
Oh, why?
It was so beautiful.
Oh, that's so sweet. We're lucky that she's still here, 98.
Yeah.
The eldest recipient of Hollywood Star and the Walk of Fame. And she's so gracious. I can tell you that she went up to Ming Na, and she goes, Ming, when are we get to work again? Call me, please. She's still out there wanting to work and tell the stories, man.
I
It's
love
like
it.
amazing to her fortitude, amazing to her desire to be out there. It's like, if we can grow up to be that fierce, we would be so lucky and so fortunate.
I love it. I'm crying now, listeners. You should know this.
Oh my God.
It was so nice to see you all together again.
Yeah.
It really affirmed for me like how much the movie meant to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even at this age. And that you all seem truly bonded.
We are. And I think, not to be morbid, but it's truth, right? Truth hurts sometimes. We only have a limited time on this earth. Why waste it? If there was something that was monumental, impactful, not only to the world, but to ourselves, with all the bullshit that really falls away when time goes by, it's like it is beautiful because it was beautiful. And so just uplift that, take advantage of the opportunities that we're invited, that we're asked to be together. We still do get together once in a while because we're so big. To get the four of us is like herding cats. And I hope you catch, I think you might be familiar with the organization Committee of 100.
Mm-hmm.
They had their conference and they united the four of us, Ming, Roz, Lauren, and I. Lisa Ling conducted that Q&A, and I think Committee of 100 recorded it, and I think Committee of 100 put it out. I hope so. And if not, that's bad on them. That's bad on them. Because again, to get the four of us is like hurting, because they're extremely busy women. But also, more importantly, and I want to add this to, if you have room in your podcast, because we are over time, but I want to give credit to Richard Louis of MSNBC News. He and I have a friendship that, said, hey, do you think we could get the Joy Luck Club girls together for an interview? And we've been trying to do this for years. And when Committee of 100 invited Richard's the one who got us for. And he also, if you haven't caught it, conducted an interview for the Today Show. So that was just recently released. And so it's all in conjunction with, again, the impactfulness of a very specific book called The Joy Luck Club, written by a wonderful woman, storyteller, Amy Tan, influenced and impacted by the stories of growing up with her mom. So know that we're all impacted from the people that raised us, if we're lucky enough to have the parents who birthed us, and to know that we are born into this world from rich histories. It's up to us to find out what those histories are and tell them so we can all be connected once again.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Tamlyn.
You're so welcome.
We love you.
We love you. Thank you.
Fans for life. Is right. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. We will wrap for real this time. But listeners, find all of Tamlyn's work. Consume it all.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
All of it.
Thank you.
Every single bit.
Thank you.
Especially in this month, Asian Americans, streaming on PBS. We've been watching it. It's great.
Yeah.
Find her on Instagram. Listen to the podcast with her and
listen
May
to Freesia's
Kelly.
podcast. First Quality Crab with the crab named Waverly.
With our crab named Waverly. Listeners, if you want to find us, you can find us at worstqualitycrab.com. We're also on Instagram at worstqualitycrab, and you can email us at worstqualitycrabpod@gmail.com. Thank you again, Tamlyn.
Thank you, Freesia.
We will talk to everyone next.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.